Welcome back. So in this particular session, we will be continuing with the software. So let us revisit what we have uh, what we have discussed in the last session. Okay. So in the last session, we actually understood what is a software, which I told you it is a collection of documentations, instructions, and a data structure itself. Then we talked about some characteristic of software, like software doesn't wear out. Okay, then we talk about component-based, custom-based software, and all this thing. Then you saw the difference between a program and a software, where program is small in size. A particular author can do it, right? And there is no, it is ad hoc approach, and software, nerds, size complexity is very high, so you have a team, and it is a complete systematic way. And then we talk about good qualities, based on the efficiency, maintainability, usability, and all the things. And then we talked about the perspective of different stakeholders on how to the particular quality of the software is looked upon. As a customer, okay, I really want to have an economic software itself. And then as a developer, I want to make the software easy to code, design, and all. As a software engine, as a manager, I want that both in the developing of the software become easy and caters to the customer needs and is reasonable. And then as a user, I will see how user friendly it is in order to use the software. So in the continue of this, in this particular video session, okay, we will be understanding what are the different software application and the software new categories are. Okay. So when you talk about software applications, so these are the different applications software we have. We call it the system software, the application software, engineering scientific software, embedded software, web applications, AI software itself. So now let us look in each of this, a software itself in with some kind of example. So system software actually, this type of software actually directly we are talking about which interacting with the hardware and all. So typically we will be having, the OS operating system like Mac OS, Linux, Unix, Android, Microsoft Windows, different, Windows 7, Windows NT, okay, Windows 10 and all. Then we can have some computational, science software itself. Then game engines, different search engines. Okay, when you talk about, Google search engine and all these things. And then we have some kind of industrial or automation software. Okay, right, when you're trying to automate certain things and all these things, so this comes uh, under the categories of system software, and these are the softwares which are actually directly trying to interact have an interaction with the hardware itself. So application software is something which you are trying to create for some kind of users, some kind of clients, and all these things, like Microsoft Word. So where you will going to write, can create some documents like Excel, which are used some kind of calculation and all these things. PowerPoint, as you can see, we can create some PPTs, and where it become easy for us to deliver some sessions and all these things. Then we have Access, some kind of database, Google Chrome, Firefox, Photoshop, Skype, VLC Media Player. So these are nothing but are under the categories of application software. So moving ahead, engineering and scientific software, and the software we are talking about some kind of scientific calculation, and regarding some kind of engineering aspects like MATLAB. Okay, it is one of the very powerful software into doing some kind of scientific application, and a lot of applications, a lot of work in done industry using MATLAB. Then you have Autotext, okay, CATIA, Mac Designer, Solid Edge, Top Solid Design, Geometric Design. Okay, I cannot go in details, okay, of each of the software, but these are the certain software which are used for engineering aspect, being a mechanical, civil, and all this thing, and cut into some kind of on scientific software itself. Okay, so having said this, moving ahead, we have the embedded software. Okay, what is embedded software is, typically we are talking about some kind of where we have about an application, OS itself, and talking about some kind of devices, okay, which it help us to do some kind of work in a better way, right? Like for example, fire like where control system found in in the aircraft itself, like traffic control system that we see, right? The central heating system, the fitness trackers, the electrical vehicle starting system. These are certain nothing but some of the example of embedded software itself. Okay, I mean, said in moving ahead, we have the web apps applications. Typically, web apps. I have written is a web application itself. Okay, right? So like shopping cart, we have like file conversion. You can go into some site like PDF to doc conversion, doc to PDF conversion, scanning of some kind of file itself. Okay, and typically if you go to Flipkart, Amazon, and all this sites, Mantra and all, you can see you can buy something and then we can create. You can store that if you in the form of some kind of shopping cart and all. So then you have some online forms through which you can register to some kind of workshops and seminars and all these things. And typically email programs also like Gmail, Yahoo, and all those things are also typical the web application itself. Okay, then we have the artificial intelligence software. Artificial intelligence, okay, when we are talking about certain systems, okay, which have the ability to learn certain patterns, okay, and based on that develop some kind of intelligence and do. One of the biggest example of you see is the Amazon, Alexa, then IBM Watson, okay, Infosys, Nia, Salesforce, they have the Einstein, then Google Assistant. I think a lot of advertisement you can see also transfers for some of the software which are actually used to implement some kind of AI application itself called Cornata and all. Okay, so having said in moving when new categories coming up, okay, so we have some kind of software based on an open world computing or typically pervasive computing, distributed computing. Okay, so distributed computing, when you say in a distributed environment, in a machine distributed across the network, connected through the network itself. Okay, and they may be having some kind of each of the system may be some kind of autonomous. Okay, and they collectively work in order to do some kind of computation out there. Typically we have the concept of the big data that we hear about in the kind of data science and all. It actually is a combination of distributed, because entire work is distributed, and parallel computing also. Parallelly we can do some kind of ubiquitous computing, wireless network. All of us know today of how beautifully we are working with the help of wireless network itself. Then some net sourcing, like the web itself, we can take it as a computation engine, and we can do some kind of open source software itself coming up. Okay, right. And then also we think of some kind of grid computing, cognitive machines, nanotechnologies, data mining and all these things. So we cannot go ahead with discussing, because it is completely different thing. Some kind of data mining itself, what exactly data mining is, something like we have a set of data. Okay, not a transactional data, really a historical data. From that you do some kind of trying to some kind of understand some kind of patterns, and based on the patterns you try to give certain decisions which help us in the business itself to do data mining, like business intelligence comes into picture and all those things. So having said this, so in this particular session we have talked about different software applications. Okay, starting from the system software itself, the application software itself, moving down to, you have seen the web applications, and then AI software itself and all, right? Embedded software and all these things. Then we see new categories in terms of open world computing, ambiguous computing, some kind of open source data mining, grid computing, and cognitive machines and all these things, right? So now you could have understood what exactly a software means, and how software has been categorized, like in terms of system software, like in terms of AI software and all these things, and the new things that are software type of evolving, like in the concept of data mining, grid computing, cognitive machines, ubiquitous computing and all these things, right? Okay, so I hope that you got a little picture about software. Okay, so in the next section we'll move ahead more uh, to understand some kind of characteristics of the web application, because web application is one of the most demanding application in the next session of software itself. Thank you.